What's going on, Vikings fans? It's Mitchell Renz, and you are watching Vikings Now. Coming up here on today's show are a bunch of questions that are submitted by our loyal subscribers here on this awesome YouTube show. And personally, I do a lot of different content here for Chat Sports. Mailbags, though, are some of my favorites because I can see what you guys are thinking, and then I can give you my 2 cents on what I think about the questions and comments that you have going on. Before I get into some of these questions here, I'm just genuinely curious. Who was the Vikings quarterback when you became a fan? Was it Kirk Cousins? Then you're definitely a new fan and probably a toddler at that. Seriously, though, I'm just genuinely curious. Who was the Vikings quarterback when you became a fan? The first question coming in here is from Timothy Young. What are guys you want the Vikings to sign? So in terms of some free agent targets that Minnesota could bring in, and if you're asking how much money do they have and who are some of the players on their radar, well, let's first look at right now. The Vikings have about $10.9 million in total cap space, which is somewhere in this middle range, if you will, when you look at a lot of the other NFL teams out there. There's definitely tons, and I mean tons of still big-name players that you could go out and sign. And the real question I have here is this. When you're a first-year head coach, when you're a first-year general manager, I'm in the belief that you should probably be aggressive. However, I don't know how much more or how many other moves the Vikings are going to do, and they might not make any moves. But you know what? I really personally hope that they do, because for the first time in a long time, and I know I've said this a few times on this show, for the first time in a long time, I believe that this division is really, really wide open, because I think the Packers have taken a significant step back. I don't believe in the Bears. I don't believe in the Lions. And for Minnesota, a team that was 8-9 last year, I mean, there was like 5 games where I legitimately can sit up here and say, Vikings probably could have won those games. Therefore, it puts you in the playoff conversation. And when I look at some of the biggest needs for the Skull, I see tight end probably being the biggest need right now. I can make the argument that when you look at all the tight ends rooms in all the National Football League, the Vikings might have the weakest room. Now, it might not be like that at the end of the season because I'm a believer in Irv Smith Jr., but as I look at the roster right now, that's a big-time weakness. Center with Bradbury, I don't like at all. Offensive guard is definitely a coin flip. Call it in the air what you're going to get. And, yes, quarterback Kirk Cousins is good, but in the world of the NFL, if you don't have a top 10, hell, I don't even think Kirk Cousins is a top 12 quarterback. He's in this purgatory area where he's not elite, but he's not bad. He's a good quarterback, but nobody thinks Kirk Cousins is, like, elite, right? Hopefully not. So, personally, I am going to tip my cap to some of the moves that, Quest has already made this offseason. And if I was him, there was 5 names that I would at least pick up the phone, give a call, because remember, when you only got $10.9 million, you can't go out and really, really, truly break the bank. But if I was going to break the bank on some players, it'd be the first 3 names that you see right here. J.C. Tretter, he's the best center out there right now. And if you're worried that Bradbury isn't that dude, why not go out and get Tretter, who's, I get it, 32 years old, but offensive line center, it's an important position. Daryl Williams, he could play right tackle, he could play right guard. Personally, I believe he's better as a tackle, but he would be the best guard on this team. And then Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr is just one of these guys in the NFL, and I know you guys love him a lot. As somebody, when he's on the field, he does so many different things. And when you wear that C on your jersey, you bring a lot of different elements to any football team that you're on. And I would love to see Barr back with Minnesota. Ereck Flowers is an okay guard, and then Kyle Rudolph would just be a plan B next to Irv Smith Jr. And also, he's like he's probably the best tight end Minnesota has ever had. Is that saying something? I think it is. So after seeing those 5 names there, let's play a little bit of a game. I want you to name a player that you believe that the Vikings should sign, and if there's somebody that you didn't see on that list, hey, that's what these shows are about here. Not only am I answering your guys' questions, when I get done filming this video, and after Jack and I push this video out, we go in the comments and we see what you guys have to say, because the only way this show is going to grow is if you participate with me. So please, name a player that the Vikings should sign. Let's go to the next question coming in here, and it's from Jill Supercynski. Is this like Mike Wazowski? Is that kind of what that thing is? I don't know. Trade for Hayden Hurst. All right. Here's the thing. I understand that I said the tight end room is a problem right now, but I don't know if Hayden Hurst is a solution. And sure, this would be an interesting move to make because I can remember the day that Hayden Hurst was drafted out of South Carolina. I was like, man, they're going to regret that, Baltimore is. And then he goes on over to Atlanta, and I believe they give up like a second-round pick for him. And sure, Hayden Hurst had like one good year, but he's also had some injury issues. And what exactly would you want to give up for Hurst? Because personally for me, I'm not giving up anything higher than a fifth-round pick. And if that's what you're going for, I get the idea of adding extra depth. But if I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to add somebody that I want to help my team win right now, I'm not going to trade for Hayden Hurst. I mean, in 2021, he had 26 catches, 221 yards, 3 touchdowns. In 2020, which was his best year, 56 grabs, 571 yards, 6 touchdowns. Also, Hurst isn't that great of a blocker, so I get the high draft capital. Would he be an upgrade over Johnny Munt and Ben Elfelson? Yeah, of course he would. To be honest, I think Producer Trace, Producer Jack, and myself might be upgrades over those guys. Obviously, I'm kidding in that statement, but I told y'all to shoot for the stars in this mailbag. And, well, I don't even think we left orbit because you're trying to trade for Hayden Hurst. So, one of the players that we talked about when we look at tight ends is Irv Smith for obvious reasons. And if you want to be breaking down in terms of could he have a breakout year, I believe he could have a breakout year, which is kind of one of the reasons why I don't know if I want somebody like Hayden Hurst. If you want to give me another tight end, sure, I'm on board for it. Last season, he was unable to play. He had a knee injury, but when he was coming out of Alabama, they drafted him. Round 2, I believe it was 54 overall. I liked his skill set a lot. I believe it does fit pretty well with what Kirk Cousins offers, and I think it fits pretty well with what Kevin O'Connell was going to bring to the table. So, I'm saying kind of no to the Hayden Hurst idea, but how about this? If we talked about free agents, now I want you to go down in the comment section right now and name a player that you believe the Vikings should go out and try to trade for. If the Vikings sign, if the Vikings trade for any players out there, we will make a video. And we've been marching, man. We have been marching our you-know-what to 5,000 subs for quite some time now. I want to get there. I want to get there before football season. Hell, I wanted to get there before July, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So let's get there before August. We only need 306 more to reach 5,000 subs. The more subs we get means the more content we can create. Let's go to Atlas Young. And Atlas, I hope this is a picture of your dog. It's very cute. I got a dog myself. His name's Chuck. He is like 18 months at this point. He's like 80 pounds. But if anybody has a dog, let me know. What type of dog? What's the dog's name? Because my dog is really, really spoiled, no doubt about that. Does Justin Jefferson reach 1,100 yards and win the third? I mean, how about this? If Justin Jefferson finishes the season with 1,100 yards, something happened to him. And I hate saying that, but my answer would be, without a doubt, if you're telling me right now Justin Jefferson plays 17 games this season, I'm going to go 1,700 yards. I mean, that should be what you're hoping that he can end up getting because last year he had 1,600 yards last season? Yeah, 1,616, 10 touchdowns. And obviously there's going to be a trend where after a rookie year of 1,400, 1,600 yards in year 2, I do always say that the third year is known as the breakout season. It's known as the year where receivers take that next step. And he was as good as what he was in 2020, a year packed with COVID, and 88 grabs on 125 targets, 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns. Then you look at 2021, the target shares there. I think that for you to have a balanced offense, and what do I mean by that? You got to have KJ Osborne's going to get his targets. Irv Smith Jr. is going to get his targets. You know, Adam Thielen, if he's healthy, going to get his targets. You're going to run the ball with Dalvin Cook. So I actually think a pretty happy medium is being around this 167 target range. But if you want to shoot for the stars, if you really want to aim high and talk about a goal, What about this? And this is ballsy. This would be like a bold prediction. If I was going to do a bold prediction video around Jefferson, it would be, does he have the opportunity to break the single-season record for most receiving yards in a season? If you were to ask me right now, out of all the receivers in the NFL, Jefferson would be on my top 5 list to do that. You know the target shares there. You know he's a hell of a receiver. He has the chemistry with Kirk Cousins. And if you look at the trajectory of 1,400 yards and 1,600 yards, I mean, 1,800 yards is in the realm of possibility to me. And then when you look at all the single-season receiving records in the NFL, nobody's ever had 2,000. Antonio Brown, frown face, Jerry Rice in 1995. I was 2 years old at the time. Julio Jones, Cooper Kupp last season. I mean, Calvin Johnson putting up these type of numbers in the Detroit Lions offense in only 16 games is mind-blowing to me. But is it possible? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No. So you go from having 1,616 yards. I was going to say 1616, which makes sense. It just sounds weird out loud. Can you go to have that next step? I hope so. I believe so. But to have only 1,100 yards, my answer to that is abso-freaking-lutely. So go down to the comment section right now. And could Jefferson break the single-season receiving record? Y for yes and for no. Could it happen? Yes. Anything's possible, right? Literally anything is possible. I'm going to say no. I don't think it happens. But could it happen? Sure. My projection is probably going to be somewhere around 1,600 yards again, though, for Justin Jefferson. Let's go to the final question on today's mailbag, and it's from French Fries. Do you think they will look for a new quarterback if we don't make the playoffs, or if Kirk doesn't do so well? So I think it depends on what you're thinking about, because my take would be this. Kirk Cousins on a 1-year, $35 million deal, how much money does he want? Because if this Vikings roster, which I would actually say right now is a pretty damn good roster, yeah, the defense needs to get better, but from an offensive standpoint, you know Cousins is going to put up numbers. He's put up numbers over the past 2 seasons. Numbers aren't the issue. But when a quarterback gets judged, it's usually by wins and playoff wins. That hasn't really favored Cousins. And if you're telling me you couldn't really win with him making $35 million this year, what makes you think that you can win with him making more money? Because next offseason, your concentration's not going to be on Cousins. It's going to be giving Justin Jefferson probably $30 million a year. And that's kind of where I sit. So if you're telling me with this offense that they have, if this team doesn't make the playoffs and they don't win some football games, I think you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you know what? Maybe it is time to move on. And if I'm Kevin O'Connell and if I'm GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, I'm looking to go out and get my quarterback that I want to build around in a draft class that is supposedly supposed to have some pretty good QB. So when you look at the numbers for Cousins over the past 2 seasons, 35 touchdowns, 33 touchdowns, right? I mean, it's good numbers. Nobody's going to debate it. But at the end of the day, not that I don't care about numbers, but at the end of the day, I really, I don't care about numbers for the simple fact of you got to win football games, man. And if it's prime time, if it's a night game, I don't really think this is a knock on Kirk, but does anybody really think that Cousins can do it? So what kind of Kirk are we going to get this season? That still remains to be up in the air. But I also know that not many quarterbacks have the talent that Cousins has. And you're going to get in this area where I don't want you to piss away the good years of Dalvin Cook, the cheap years of Justin Jefferson, and the final years of Adam Thielen. Because to have a trio like that, a lot of QBs would drool over. And not that Cousins is bad, but if you can upgrade, I think you have to try to do it, right? So what is your confidence level this season and Kirk Cousins? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 being you're not confident at all, 10 being you're very confident. I would say from a fantasy football number standpoint, I'm going to put 7 or 8 because I believe Cousins can put up those numbers. From an actual football and winning standpoint, it's probably going to be a 5. Now, I am getting ready to wrap up today's show, and major shout-out to everyone that made it this far. If you want to be in our next Vikings mailbag, all you got to do, use hashtag Vikings down in the comment section. In a way that I would, I guess, format a question would be like, hashtag Vikings, should Minnesota sign J.C. Tretter. Hashtag Vikings. Will Dalvin Cook have over 1,000 rushing yards? That's how the formatted question should be. Hopefully that makes some sense, and hopefully I see you guys on our next Vikings Mailbag.